Get lost! With a casual wave of his hand, Guo Dingquan was easily flung away by Ling Han, and with a peng, he crashed into the nearest wall. Bastard! Guo Dingquan got back to his feet and shouted in a towering rage. He was really about to die from his utmost fury. As an alchemist, someone who was respected and revered by everyone, he had actually been pressed onto a table, wine had splattered all over his face, and he had even been flung away to crash into a wall. Thankfully, dinner had not been served yet. Otherwise, his face would have been even more colourful, decorated by a myriad of dishes. "You want to try it again?" Ling Han asked coldly. This was not the first alchemist he had thrashed, and definitely wouldn't be the last. "I want you to die." Guo Dingquan roared furiously. Teng, 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 with heavy steps he charged over to Ling Han again. As an alchemist, he had never experienced such great shame. If he did not avenge himself, then he could not live with himself. Ling Han moved. Peng Guo Dingquan was once again held by his neck and, as expected, slammed onto the table face first. The difference was that Ling Han had used more strength this time, causing the table to be broken in half by the force. Ah! Veins were protruding all over Guo Dingquan's face in his anger, and his eyes looked like they were about to spit out fire. However, he did not charge a second time, because he had finally sensed that the gap between Ling Han and himself was far too wide. Damn it, based on aura, Ling Han could only be about the same level as he himself was. At most, they were both in the 4th layer of element gathering tier, but why was he so strong? He turned his head to look at the first prince. The latter was stuck in a confrontation with Liu Yutong, so could not possibly assist him at this time. He raised his voice and said, "Whoever helps me thrash this brat, I will gift him with 10 embracing origin pills." What embracing origin pill? For anyone below the 9th layer of element gathering tier, this is a valuable treasure. It can help one in the formation of the origin nucleus and increase the chances of success by about 30%. To give out 10 pills in one go, what opulence! Everyone was discussing this spiritedly, but there were not many who were really interested in taking up Guo Dingquan's offer, because who amongst those invited was not a genius? For a genius, if they even had to depend on external support just to form their origin nucleus, what right did they have to the name of genius? When Guo Dingquan saw this, he could not help grit his teeth and finally announced, "An earth and fire pill!" Damn, an earth and fire pill! This time, everyone could no longer just stay in their seats calmly. Even Qi Yongye and the first prince seemed tempted by this new offer. The earth and fire pill had similar effects as the purple origin pill. It was also used to help a martial artist break through to the gushing spring tier, but its effects were much weaker than the latter. At most, it could only raise the chance of success by 20%. But still, it was a very rare and extremely valuable spiritual medicine. Even for a genius like Qi Yongye, he also had been stuck at the peak period of the 9th layer of element gathering tier for over half a year. Normally, if one could manage to break through to gushing spring tier within 3 to 5 years' time, that was already a feat worthy of praise. Meanwhile, the first prince had already reached the peak period of the 9th layer of element gathering tier 7 years ago, yet his cultivation level remained unchanged even until now, showing the extreme difficulty of breaking through to the gushing spring tier. An earth and fire pill could very possibly save quite a few years' time of cultivation for even a genius, so it was extremely valuable. However, although the ingredients required for the concoction of an earth and fire pill were not as costly as the ingredients for a purple origin pill, they were still extremely rare, and while there were many willing to buy, none were willing to sell. Otherwise, with the financial resources available to the royal house of the Dayuan king, they would have been able to afford a few of them. As a result, everyone immediately turned to stare feverishly at Ling Han, as if he himself was an earth and fire pill. What impudence! Where do you people think this place is? Qi Yongye immediately spoke coldly. He was a man that knew what his role was, so he naturally suppressed the covetousness he felt in his heart. Guo Dingquan was working for the first prince, so he of course would not bother to assist the former. Moreover, Ling Han had an unknown relationship with Liu Yutong, and with this, his position was extremely clear. He'd help Ling Han. With this exclamation from the fourth prince, everyone immediately regained their composure. This was the residence of the fourth prince, and if they dared to come to arms here, then in a sense, it was no different than rebellion. Guo Dingquan breathed heavily and glared at Qi Yongye fiercely before suddenly turning around and leaving. There was no way that he could swallow this great offence. He was going to fetch his master. No one could insult an alchemist in this manner. "Brother Guo! Brother Guo!" the first prince hurriedly called as he chased after Guo Dingquan's heels. As sudden as the two's arrival was, they left just as suddenly. There was a temporary calm in the main hall. Some of the guests felt sorry for missing out on an opportunity to obtain the earth and fire pill, while some other guests were curious about the future development of this matter. "Come, replace the table." Qi Yongye began to manipulate the atmosphere and once again displayed his personal charm, causing the atmosphere of the banquet to regain its liveliness. All of them were extremely interested in Ling Han. It was not difficult to restrain Guo Dingquan. In fact, 80% of the people present here would be able to do so easily, but to dare to do so, perhaps only Ling Han possessed such courage. "Brother Ling, may I know where do you originate from?" Someone finally asked. "Grey Cloud Town." Ling Han had no intention of concealing it. After all, since he was intending to participate in the Dayuan tournament, he could not falsify his identity. Grey Cloud Town? All of them gave a start at this. Wasn't that a small place under the jurisdiction of the Dayuan city? Then where did Ling Han get his confidence from? He was not the only one who had made a great display of power, for even the girl beside him appeared to be very proud. She had not even taken the first prince seriously. Qi Yongye was even more surprised. Ling Han came from Grey Cloud Town? Then how had he developed a relationship with Liu Yutong? Even though he himself was of nobility, when compared to Liu Yutong, there was still a bit of a gap between them. After all, they could only be considered as one of the branch families of the imperial family, and after so many generations, their relation with the imperial family was not really very close. Unless he could ascend to the position of the Dayuan king, even he would not be qualified to marry Liu Yutong. Yet Ling Han could have Liu Yutong follow closely by his side. A brat from a tiny little Grey Cloud Town. What right did he have to do such a thing? As the various dishes were served, everyone too felt slightly famished and so began eating. Martial artists expended a lot of energy, and so would become hungry more easily than normal people. "Ha! Apologies, apologies. Fourth Prince, I've arrived late." A long bout of laughter was heard, and a tall young man walked in. He appeared to be about 20 years old, and had an astonishing aura to him. The third son of the Jin clan, Jin Wuji. Jin Wuxiang followed right behind, imitating the former's steps slavishly. He seemed a bit like a mouse that had seen a cat, and there was absolutely no sign of his prior arrogance. "Brother Jin, why are you so late?" Qi Yongye asked, smiling as he stood. "I had some trifling matters to deal with," Jin Wuji said as he continued to walk forwards. "Elder brother, that's him! That's him!" When they arrived at the first row, Jin Wuxiang immediately called out as he pointed at Ling Han. Jin Wuji's eyes swept over the first row and could not hold back an expression of shock from appearing on his face as he said, "Yi, younger sister disciple Liu, what are you doing here?" He was also a disciple of Huyang Academy, so he naturally recognized the princess, Liu Yutong. Liu Yutong only nodded back calmly and did not make any further response. Jin Wuji knew her personality, so he did not take her cool response to heart. His gaze turned towards Ling Han, and coldness flashed through his eyes immediately. Initially, he had only been a little late, but when he encountered his younger brother at the entrance and found out what the latter had experienced, he immediately ordered someone to investigate Ling Han. This was not difficult. Since he had already registered, there would definitely be a profile of him in the records. A mere young master from a tiny clan of Grey Cloud Town, and he actually dared to oppose the Jin clan? He definitely did not think that Liu Yutong would actually deign to like Ling Han. Even if she did, the Liu clan would definitely not agree to such a match. This would practically be a great dishonor to the clan. As a result, he did not fear that Liu Yutong would defend Ling Han. Moreover, his power was above Liu Yutong. "Brat, Get lost from my seat, he said coldly.